Have you ever walked out of a pipeline review and thought, are we even at the same company? If so, you are not alone, and no, you're not crazy. In B2B SaaS, especially as you cross the 5 and 10 million ARR mark, the single biggest drag on growth isn't product, and it's not pricing. It's the trust gap between sales and marketing. And the result, you get wasted spend, finger pointing, and a pipeline no one really believes in. Later, I'll show you how the best SaaS executives turn this friction into compounding revenue growth, and the single metric that you need to fix first. Today, I'm unpacking 3 things that every growth stage SaaS leader needs to know. First, it's the metric mismatch that's quietly sabotaging trust between sales and marketing, and how to run a pipeline retro that actually builds trust. Second, it's the hidden language barrier that tanks win rates and pipeline coverage, with a real-world example of a 40% pipeline velocity boost. And thirdly, it's the playbook that the top SaaS leaders use to finally unite sales and marketing as one revenue team. But before we get technical, let's get brutally honest about why this problem never really goes away on its own. Because behind closed doors, here's what leaders are actually saying. A CMO confessed to me, Andrew, our SDRs literally stopped logging into HubSpot. They didn't trust the lead scores, and in 6 months, our win rate was cut in half. Or a CRO quietly admitted, honestly, I'd rather rebuild pipeline from scratch than keep fighting over what counts as qualified. And here's what almost no one says out loud. It's not about who's right. Sales and marketing are playing 2 completely different games with 2 completely different sets of rules. Stick with me, because for each pain, I'm going to show you exactly how winning teams close the gap and unlock growth. Let's start with the most common tripwire, the handoff metric. Marketing is laser focused on MQLs and lead volume. Sales, however, they want pipeline they can actually close. Opportunities, not just inquiries. When these aren't tightly aligned, trust, it erodes really quickly. In our latest GTM efficiency survey, less than 1/3 of companies said sales and marketing even use the same definition for qualified lead. And so here's what happens. Marketing says, 300 MQLs, yay! Sales says, barely any of these are closing, stop flooding us with junk. The solution is not just generate more leads. Here is what actually works today in teams that are growing. Top performing teams run a joint pipeline retro, not a blame session, but a trust building workshop. And here is the 3-part agenda. First, we go through our win-loss stories. We start with deals that closed and those that didn't. Both teams share what they learned, not just the numbers. Second, there's a definition alignment. Review what qualified actually meant in this quarter's real deals. What signals were missed or misread? And third is action planning. Commit to 1 change per team, what marketing will tune upstream and what sales will change in their follow-up. The key is that both teams agree on and own the same handoff metric, and then they review it together at least quarterly. Next up is the killer that no one talks about, and that's language. Marketing speaks in campaign ROI, engagement, and reach. Sales cares about pipeline coverage and deal velocity and close dates. In my GTM efficiency workshops, I ask, what's a qualified opportunity? And you look around the room, and half the time, sales and marketing leaders don't even agree. It's like running a relay where no one exactly knows where to pass the baton. But here's a real-world example of the fix. At a 25 million SaaS company, sales and marketing locked themselves in a room, literally, at an offsite, and rewrote every single stage of their funnel together. MQLs, SQLs, opportunities. They defined observable behaviors and buyer signals for each stage, and then agreed on them, and then put them on the wall for every team to see. The result was pipeline velocity jumped 40% in just 2 quarters, because everyone finally trusted what qualified meant. And both teams spoke the same language. So how do you fix this at scale without waiting for the perfect hire or a new CRM or some other tool? There's 3 steps. Firstly is building a shared dashboard. Not just access, but ownership. Both teams use and trust the same data. Secondly is run joint pipeline retros, not as a blame session, but real discovery. What's working? Where does trust break down? And thirdly, tying incentives to a single North Star metric, revenue accepted pipeline. Opportunities both sales and marketing agree are real and winnable. But here's the part that even most playbooks skip. None of this works unless you model true cross-functional leadership at the executive level. If your CEO or founder doesn't show up for a pipeline retro, alignment just simply doesn't cascade down the organization. Now, here's your move, because everything I've just said is worthless unless you act on it. Today, I want you to book a 30-minute pipeline retro with your sales and marketing leads and ask one question. Where do we lose trust in our process? Write down the top 3 answers. That's your roadmap for closing the alignment gap for good. If you want to download a retro agenda, see the show notes below. All right, if you found this valuable, follow for the next episode where I break down how the best SaaS executives break the MQL SQL blame game for good and unlock compounding pipeline growth.